Fighting crime in 2015. The police have outlined the strategies and we have the details. Hello and welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I am Theodore Henry. We also have a review of the work done by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security in 2014, plus information to get you up to speed on earthquakes. As the magazine unfolds, consider how you can help to stop the cycle of human trafficking.
Nicky baby, come here. You understand, so I have to send you to your auntie so you can go to school and turn out better than me.
When I go be night time.
Piggy, come finish your work.
If you or anyone you know has been a victim of human trafficking, call 811 or 1-888-PROTECT. Be wise. Open your eyes. Spot them. Stop them. A message brought to you by the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons.
Good day, I'm Andrea Chizom and this is your JIS News for Thursday, January 15. Government is again urging players in the petroleum trade to pass on all the benefits of the continued decline in petrol prices to consumers. Petroleum announced on Wednesday that it had once again slashed the ex-refinery price of both the 87 and 90 blends of petrol by over $3 per litre. A release from the Energy Ministry revealed that over the past 2 weeks, Petroleum sold the product to marketing companies at well below $90, yet pump prices in some outlets were still above $100 per litre. The ministry is therefore urging marketing companies to pass on the savings to consumers. The release stated that the resistance of some players in the petroleum trade to pass on the benefits in a fulsome manner frustrates the goodwill and transparency that underpin business relationships. Consumers are therefore urged to be vigilant when buying gas at the pumps. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller has lauded one private manufacturing and distribution company for believing and investing billions of dollars in Jamaica. Lasca Manufacturing Limited recently invested $2 billion to upgrade and expand its White Marl plant in St. Catherine, leading to the creation of 300 jobs. The Prime Minister toured the state-of-the-art facility on Wednesday and said Lasca's expansion coincided with government's plans to strengthen its relationship with the private sector to grow the economy and create jobs.
This is a kind of bold action that is needed from our private sector partners at a time when our government is significantly improving the climate for investment and business generally.
Mrs. Simpson-Miller added that government had been working with the manufacturing sector to help them overcome their challenges. Notwithstanding the issues, she said that given the improvements in the management of the Jamaican economy, it was a good time for businesses to expand.
The business climate is better, and this view is supported by the World Bank, the reputable Forbes magazine, and local business confidence surveys.
Forbes magazine recently ranked Jamaica as the best country in the region to do business and the third in Latin America and the Caribbean. Government is being praised for its move to table and debate the 2015-2016 budget in February ahead of the usual presentation in April. In keeping with fiscal rules legislation passed last year, government will present its revenue plan and estimates of expenditure at the same time and earlier than usual. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica (ICAJ) has released a statement saying this will allow for constructive and widespread debate ahead of the start of the fiscal year. The Institute says it expects the change to result in greater accountability and participation. ICAJ President Dennis Chung has called it a step in the right direction for good governance, adding that it needs to be enhanced by the timely adoption of accrual accounting using international public sector accounting standards. The Kingston and St. Andrew Corporation KSAC says it will continue to clamp down on the misuse of public spaces in the corporate area to restore and maintain public order. These include recreational parks and the use of sidewalks for vending.
We want to make sure that individuals with disabilities have access to our sidewalks and are not forced into the streets because some selfish individuals have decided that their garage, their shop, or their store have priority and should be built on the sidewalk.
Speaking at the KSAC's monthly meeting on Tuesday, Mayor Angela Brown-Burke revealed that the council closed 18 sidewalk garages and removed 1,000 illegal structures last year.
We intend to be relentless. We have to create a balance between those individuals who are eking out a living under trying times and the public order that is required for a city and a country to progress.
And finally, some members of the Jamaica Defense Force JDF have begun wearing their new digital combat uniforms DCUs. The new uniforms, which were unveiled on Wednesday, replace the disrupted pattern material which the JDF has worn since 1992. JDF Chief of Defense Staff Major General Anthony Anderson says the new combat uniforms will have both land and naval variations and are 50% more effective at camouflaging troops.
As a matter of fact, the old material was becoming more and more difficult to get because most militaries have phased it out. And so in moving to this one, this actually costs less.
The new uniform stipulates JDF personnel to wear their ranks on the front, has ripstop technology making it more durable, and proudly displays the Jamaican flag. The DCUs also have built-in security and identification features that are not easily duplicated. JDF says the change in uniform shows the military's commitment to improving itself and boosting efficiency. And that's it for JIS News today. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Thank you for watching.
The Ebola virus is transmitted through direct contact with an infected person's blood or other bodily fluids like saliva, urine, stool, and semen. Symptoms of Ebola include sudden fever, intense weakness, muscle pain, headache, and sore throat. This may be followed by vomiting, diarrhea, and rash, and in some cases both internal and external bleeding, leading to death. Protect yourself. Avoid travel to Ebola-affected countries. Avoid contact with infected persons. Don't touch the body of someone who has died from Ebola. Wash hands frequently with soap and water and use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. To know more, call 1-888-663-5683.
The Flexi Work Act, the short name for a groundbreaking piece of legislation passed in 2014. It's a new law that will revolutionize the way we do business in Jamaica, and only one of the highlights in a very busy year for the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. Here's a full review.
Historic flexi-work legislation passed, groundbreaking Disabilities Act approved, and minimum wage increased by 12%. Just some of the achievements from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security in 2014 as it created greater avenues to achieving government's strategic priorities of job creation and social inclusion. On September 23 and later October 31, the Houses of Parliament approved the long-awaited legislation to introduce flexible working arrangements in Jamaica.
Going forward, flexible work arrangements are critical to our national effort of achieving sustainable economic growth, improved levels of productivity, and national development.
Under the Employment Flexible Work Arrangements Miscellaneous Provisions Act, there will be no set 8 or 10-hour work days. The work week is to consist of 40 hours. All 7 days of the week are to be considered as possible normal working days, and overtime is earned after a worker has completed 40 hours. During the year, the ministry launched a public education campaign and organized several sensitization sessions on the law. Other measures were implemented in 2014 to enhance productivity and support government's strategic priority focus on job creation. A Labour Market Reform Commission was established.
This Labour Market Reform Commission, Mr. Speaker, will be tasked with conducting consultations with the relevant stakeholders relating to education and training, technology and innovation, labour policies and legislation, social protection, industrial relations and productivity.
In August, the ministry opened its renovated Electronic Labour Exchange (ELE) offices, which are now fully equipped with modern equipment to facilitate improved services. The ELE provides online and offline services to job seekers and employers. And through the Jamaica Productivity Center, the ministry introduced a secondary schools productivity improvement project to raise students' level of understanding of productivity. To protect the interests of the Jamaican workforce, the ministry increased the national minimum wage and the minimum wage for industrial security guards. And in June, the processing of work permits for foreign nationals was restructured to protect the Jamaican labor force from a saturation of skills that are already available locally. At the same time, steps were taken to help more Jamaicans secure overseas employment opportunities. The age limit for persons who can be recruited to the Overseas Farm Workers Program was increased from 40 to 45 years. Ground was broken at the Ministry's Employment Center for the construction of a pavilion to shelter workers during recruitment and processing activities. And the Jamaica Liaison Service operating out of Canada donated 2 buses to transport workers in the Overseas Employment Program. Meeting the needs of the most vulnerable in society remained a priority for the government in 2014. A major achievement came with the passage of the National Disabilities Act.
It will pave the way for enhanced contribution to the society and economy of Jamaica by persons with disabilities, by ensuring that impediments to their full participation in society are completely removed.
Through the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, the ministry embarked on island-wide consultations to gather information for the drafting of codes of practice and regulations for the new law. There were other interventions to support persons with disabilities. 9 consultant contracts totaling $61.3 million were signed to facilitate skills training and employment for 250 persons with disabilities on the Program of Advancement through Health and Education PATH. The ministry and Japan Development Grant provided $6.383 million to improve the operations of the Abilities Foundation. A new fully equipped $30 million facility with specialized equipment to enhance learning was handed over to the Stimulation Plus Early Childhood Development Center in Rockfort, East Kingston. And ground was broken for the construction of a $30 million intervention center in Orange Bay, Portland for the Early Stimulation Program. Support under the Program of Advancement through Health and Education PATH was also extended in 2014. It included the introduction of a 2-year $600 million Welfare to Work program for 2,000 PATH beneficiaries. And in partnership with Food for the Poor Jamaica, 1 family enrolled on PATH received a new home.
The government recognizes that poverty is a multi-dimensional social condition, and as such, for any intervention to meaningfully alleviate poverty, it must include the empowerment of families.
To ensure that all its programs for social inclusion reach a wider pool of Jamaicans, the ministry upgraded and reopened its Trelawney Parish office in Falmouth. In 2014, even as he guided the operations of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, Derek Kellier was also called to first act and then formally assumed portfolio responsibility for the Ministry of Agriculture in the wake of Roger Clark's death. He now has oversight for the 2 ministries, which remain separate entities. It was a successful year for the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, which witnessed the passage of major pieces of legislation and the implementation of important programs, all to enable more citizens to secure employment opportunities and enjoy full social inclusion.
There is no vaccine for the Chikungunya virus. If you've been infected, take paracetamol such as Panadol, Cetamol, and Tylenol to reduce pain and fever. Sleep under mosquito netting and get plenty of rest. Take showers or sponge baths in room temperature water to lower fever, especially in children, and drink lots of fluids to prevent dehydration. If your symptoms worsen, go and see a doctor. Do not take aspirin as this could cause bleeding, and never use rubbing alcohol. To learn more, call 1-888-1-LOVE. That's 1-888-663-5683.
Tablets distributed to schools. Electricity sector enterprise team gets to work. National cybersecurity strategy strengthened and information and communications technology advanced. Catch the full review January 16 right here on Jamaica Magazine.
Having achieved a 16% reduction in serious and violent crimes in 2014, the police have declared that they are not about to let up. At a press conference last week, Police Commissioner spoke to some of the approaches the police will be taking in the fight against crime in 2015.
Fresh on the heels of a 16% reduction in serious and violent crimes in 2014, police responded to more than 20 murders in January. A defiant police commissioner vows to up the ante.
It is our sworn duty to protect the life of every Jamaican.
First order of business?
We will increase our efforts at community policing. It is high time that the citizenry of this country work hand in hand with the police and become fully involved in the efforts to make Jamaica safer.
That ultimate goal involves the deployment of more police officers to the streets, and with the help of the military, criminal gangs and their facilitators will be targeted, especially those involved in the guns for drugs trade. A dedicated task force has been investigating.
Already, they have identified some 21 guns for drugs syndicate operating in the country, and we are impacting them by made significant seizures of drugs leaving Jamaica and guns coming back to Jamaica.
The police also plan to turn up the heat on lotto scammers. The High Command anticipates that by the end of the year, over 500 persons will be charged under the Law Reform Fraudulent Transactions Special Provisions Act.
So far, we have about 26 persons charged under the legislation that are currently in court, and we're pursuing 400 more investigations under the legislation.
And a special unit will be established to deal with acts of terrorism, a merger of the police flying squad and the organized crime investigative division.
That is to ensure that the two divisions or formations are much more effective in dealing with robbers and organized crime and all those kinds of issues. They are going to be much more involved in anti-terrorist enforcement. They are going to be trained more specifically in investigating crimes that are normally done by terrorists.
And to protect the livelihood of farmers, a predator larceny liaison officer is to be appointed by the JCF to work with the Jamaica Agricultural Society.
To ensure that police activities against predator larceny are well coordinated across the country.
To further reduce the number of police fatal shootings, Commissioner Williams says the police will continue to work with the Independent Commission of Investigations. Training will also continue in the use of non-lethal weapons so the police do not have to resort to deadly force.
Early in this new year, very early, you should start to see the police officers wearing the kit on the road.
Steps will also be taken to improve accountability in the force. The Commissioner promised greater supervision of guard rooms.
And, to a great extent, that has been working. Prisoners who are now taken in custody they remain in custody only because they need to be there. Where it is not necessary to have prisoners in custody, they are properly processed and released.
And following last year's incident in which a detainee died from injuries he sustained at the Barnett Street Police Station in St. James,
we are now exercising greater care for the people in our custody. I have not had any significant complaints in recent times.
And to support the efforts of the police, government is providing electronic station diaries to replace the large manual logs now in use. National Security Minister Peter Bunting announced earlier this month that e-diaries will be provided, starting with a test run in one police division in the first quarter of this year. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, with support from the National Security Ministry, working assiduously to create a safer Jamaica for all in 2015 and beyond.
Yo, we don't want to lose you. That's why we're counting on you to stay safe on the road.
Drinking and driving and speeding are a recipe for death and disaster. As to using your cell phone while driving, a mad thing that.
Yeah man, either thing to call, surf the net, text or visit the Facebook page while driving.
Do not use your cell phone while driving. If it is really urgent that you use your cell phone, pull over at a safe location on the road.
Arrive alive. Don't use your cell while you drive.
Let us go for road safety. All the time, every time.
A message from the NRSC and NHF.
What should you do before, during, and after an earthquake? If you don't know, then listen up. Disaster officials tell us this kind of information can mean the difference between life and death.
Much research has been done on earthquakes around the world. Scientists testing several different methods of predicting earthquakes, but so far, none has been successful. On any particular fault where earthquakes are likely to happen, scientists know there will be another earthquake sometime in the future. They just can't say when. Earthquakes happen when two blocks of the earth suddenly slip past one another. The surface where they slip is called a fault or fault plane. The location below the earth's surface where the earthquake starts is called the hypocenter, and the location directly above it on the surface of the earth is called the epicenter. Jamaica is in a seismically active region, which means we can have an earthquake at any time. The infamous Port Royal earthquake of June 7, 1692 is still Jamaica's most powerful and destructive natural disaster. Although it was felt island-wide, the most extensive loss of life occurred at Port Royal, where a portion of the town sank into the sea. At least 2,000 people died and 3,000 buildings destroyed. Another major quake that had a devastating effect on Jamaica was the Great Kingston Quake of January 14, 1907. 1,000 persons died and some 9,000 people left homeless. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, says there are things you can do before, during, and after an earthquake strikes. Conduct a hazard hunt to identify objects which may cause damage during an earthquake. Maintain at least a 3-day supply of emergency items. Practice earthquake drills. Practice the duck cover and hold routine. Plan how to evacuate safely and know the location of utility shutoff valves. If you are indoors during an earthquake, duck, cover and hold under a sturdy desk or table. Avoid glass-top objects. Remember, the higher the earthquake's magnitude, the more likely it will be for objects to move from beneath you. So it's therefore important to hold on to the leg of the object from which you're taking cover to keep it in place. Besides preparation, there are other important things to know. If you are outside, move to a safe area. If you are in a crowded store or public place, do not rush for the exits all at once. If you're in a car, pull to the side of the road and stop. After the earthquake, you must evacuate the building immediately. Check for injured or trapped persons. Wear protective shoes. Use a flashlight when searching for fire hazards. Check gas, water, and electrical lines for damage. Clean up spilled material. Never touch fallen power lines. Check emergency supplies and listen to the radio for reports.
Planning can significantly reduce the level of confusion that could happen during a disaster. Like individuals, companies should also have a disaster plan in place.
Create a system of alarm. Establish a safety team with clearly defined roles. Ensure that there are adequate emergency exits. Ensure that stairways are properly lit and free of obstruction. Ensure that evacuation routes and assembly points are marked.
Motorists, know your rights as road users. If you're stopped by the police in a road check, the police have the right to ask for your driver's license and vehicle documents. If you don't have the documents on you, you can ask for 5 days to provide them at a convenient police station. If you don't have vehicle insurance, you can be prosecuted and face the court. If you fail to renew the registration license, the police are entitled to seize your vehicle. If the police wish to search your vehicle, they should tell you the reasonable grounds for wanting the search. If you are given a ticket, sign it only if you plan to pay the fine and not contest the charge in court. And please be reminded, children under 18 years must wear a seatbelt, even if they are seated in the back. Know your rights. Knowledge of the traffic road code makes it easier to work with the police as they do their job to make the roads safer for you and everyone else.
If you missed any of our features today or want to watch them again, just log on to our website, jis.gov.jm. And here's a reminder to join us tomorrow for a review of the work done by the Ministry of Science, Technology, Energy and Mining in 2014. We welcome your feedback, so keep sending your comments to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the production crew, I'm Theodore Henry. Have a pleasant evening.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.